what your goal is, and they help you with it by coming and running with you and encouraging you and so on. Sometimes, and this happens to me, you can see here, I don't usually run with someone else, I run by myself, not because I don't have any other people to run with. I'm sure if I joined a running group or looked, I could find people to run with. And the argument for that, of course, is if there's somebody else waiting for you or expecting you to run, you're more likely to do that. You're more likely to turn up rather than say, oh, too cold today, too foggy, or leg sore, or whatever. That I know on a Saturday at the park run, there's a couple of women who take an interest in my running, and either they stay just in front of me acting as pacers for a while, so I can either get up to a good pace or lift my pace a little bit, or when they finish they come down the track a little bit and run beside me and encourage me over the finish line. And I know when I've got them running beside me that even for that last few metres, 50 metres or whatever it is, makes me run faster. I pick up my pace and I try and do a sprint to the finish. So, you know, that's the sort of encouragement that you might get from other people to help you achieve your running goals, or if you post your running results on social media, you get positive and encouraging feedback through the comments from other people. So that's running and setting goals, and I hope you've enjoyed that discussion and it's given you something to think about. My watch has buzzed a few times, and I think we're somewhere about 5 or 6 k's into the run. This road we were just on is Mary's Mount Road. I'm just turning into Kavanagh Street. It's all a relatively new estate here. On the top of the hill to my left up there is the old Mary's Mount Monastery. The building was turned into apartments. The monastery was closed. I don't know when the building was turned into apartments, and I think that some of this land, if not all of it, was owned by the Catholic Church, and they sold it off. And as I said, this is a new estate, or a relatively new estate, on the sort of western fringe of Goulburn. See the, if you can see ahead, the fog is still fairly thick, and we're down in the valley of the river, although we're a bit of a distance even as the crow flies from the river, but we're down in the valley of the river, so that's why the fog's sort of sitting here and the sun hasn't broken through yet. I suspect it's probably now coming on to 7:15, and maybe by about 7:30 the sun will be a little higher in the sky, obviously, and stronger, and the fog will start to burn off. This is Gagan Drive that we're on at the moment. I think the streets are named after former bishops of Canberra, Goulburn in the Catholic Church. As I said, I think the land here used to be owned by the Catholic Church, and whoever they sold it to and whoever did the development must have got approval to use those names. When I say approval, there's a body, a government body called the Place Names something or other board, perhaps, and it's their job when you create a new subdivision, you have to submit the name of the subdivision and the names of all the streets to this board, and they have to give approval. And the reason for that, I guess, is to make sure that, first of all, there's not already another suburb or subdivision in your town that's called that thing, and that would confuse people, and make sure that, again, there aren't already streets or roads that have the same names. Now, one example I know is that there's a Park Road, which is the main road that leads up to East Grove or East Goulburn. You come under the railway line and go straight up the hill past the sports fields, you're on Park Road. But in another part of town there is a Park Street, so you have to have approval from this Place Names Board to make sure that there aren't already streets named after or with the same names as the ones you were using. And they also assume you have to have approval in case excuse me, clearing my throat, in case the names that you're using, people in the community might find them offensive, or it might turn out that it's in this modern era where we're re-examining a bit of our history, and some of our former heroes turned out to be not such nice people, that the person that you want to name the road or street after, or park or whatever it is, doesn't have a dark history, and that doesn't also, that the choice doesn't offend the First Nations people of the area. Now, I don't know of any of that here in Goulburn, and you don't know if a name has been rejected for any of those reasons, but in Tasmania, for example, there's a very striking bridge over the Goulburn River in northern Tasmania, northeast Tasmania. It's called the Batman Bridge, not Batman, but the Batman Bridge, and it's named after a gentleman called John Batman, who played a significant role in the early history of Tasmania, and in fact was sent by the then Governor of Tasmania, who I think might have been Governor Arthur, to go to Melbourne and plan the city of Melbourne. And so, if you're wondering why there are those streets like Collins Street and Little Collins Street and Burke Street and Little Burke Street, because of John Batman having named the streets that way and planned the streets so they're on a perfect grid, at least in the CBD. But to get back to Mr. Batman, he was a surveyor, among other things, but also, as it turns out later, he was, I think people probably knew about it at the time but didn't care. And now, as I say, when we're re-examining our history, he turns out to have been involved in massacres of First Nations people in Tasmania, and many First Nations people, and even some others in Tasmania, I think that his name being on things is offensive, and his name should be removed. And you're probably familiar with that movement of taking down statues of people like Captain Cook and so on because of their role in the early settlement and dispossession of the First Nations people. So the point I'm making about choosing names for streets and so on and giving possible offence is that this First Nations board, First Nations board